Hi, welcome to Dave. Wow, that was a great start. Bum,
I
bum,
know.
bum.
Thanks for letting me just jump right in there and ruin everything for you.
Yeah, it was real smooth. All right, let's try that again.
Yes, let's. I'm sorry.
This is Dev Pirate Radio, the show where me and Matt and whoever want to join us do some stuff that gets shit done. Does that seem descriptive enough, Matt?
No, that sounds like hardly descriptive at all. It's like talking to a manager.
Can you make this also have unicorns?
We need to synergize our work efforts and really go at it and get this thing
Right.
going forward.
We just need everything done, and we need it done by next sprint.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. We do development challenges of various types, and we invite everyone to join in and to offer up their solutions to it. They are meant to not take very much time, so if you want to spend time to polish it, that's cool. If you just want to get something that works, that's also cool. If you submit it, we will talk about it.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I don't see why we couldn't
Okay.
have people even be guests on the show for a portion. That seems fine to me.
Yep. Could
All
have
right.
lots of things.
Yeah. We're very open. We are actually in the process of coming up with a tagline. That's going to be something I'm going to be working on so that people know exactly what we are for and why we are doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
So now for the challenge. Our challenge that I started last week is just a date parsing challenge, and the concept isn't that difficult, but I think once you get into it, you'll see that it's a little bit challenging. It's not super challenging, um, but it should be a little bit challenging. I listed off just 5 dates in various formats. A lot of them, 3 of them being very wordy, using the words of the things instead of the numbers or even abbreviations of the months.
Mhm.
And the goal was to take those, convert them into a date, and then sort them by oldest to newest. I mean, newest to oldest.
Yeah, not
Which
to
way did I say?
nudists.
To nudists.
No, not to nudists. Let's be
All right.
clear.
No.
Oh,
I think you've misread the intention of the challenge.
I didn't know it had anything to do with nudists. In this case, I fail.
All right, and then that's it. That was the thing. Guess we can look at the results of our challenges. I guess for that we'll start with screen sharing. I will screen share my.
Screen.
I don't know if I want to share my. Yeah, why not? Just entire screen. I don't think I have any personal information up here. All right. So here is Pete's solution.
Oh, we're starting with me this time, are we?
Well, yeah, I mean, gotta change it up. So we will first we'll just look at the results. I see you added a whole bunch of date texts, ones that I didn't have.
I did. I wanted to make sure that it was robust enough that if you, I don't know. I don't think that you're going to throw curveballs in at the end,
I
but
don't. There's no curveballs. The challenge is the challenge.
right. I just wanted to. I guess I just wanted to make sure that the solution or the answers I was getting were real. So I did add a couple of things in there, a few new dates, and I made sure that I randomized the array before I sorted it.
Yeah, and then see that you had the shuffled dates and the sorted dates, so everything looks good.
Yeah. So the first output is the actual array text, which is just a bunch of strings, and then the second output is shuffled up just to show you that it gets all shuffled, and then the last one is everything gets sorted.
And you wrote this in Python, right?
Perl.
Perl. Sorry, got all my P's mixed up.
Yeah, it's only slightly different. I mean, there are semicolons for one.
So what I did, I just stuck with the 5 from the challenge, and That's it. You saw it. It was really slow. Push this button, and it takes all the strings, parses them, and then sorts them, and then displays them sorted.
Did you use? Well, I
Except
guess we'll.
it looks like I did oldest to newest. Damn it. I can fix that real quick if I wanted, but I won't.
Oldest to newest, meaning starting at the top is the oldest one?
Yeah, that's what I did. So I did mine incorrectly.
I think that's also what I did.
I don't care. As long as it's sorted, I don't really care.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much to reverse the array.
I could just reverse this symbol and then everything would be magic.
Yeah. Yep, just reverse your print thing. Well, mine is a for each loop, so it would need a bit more code to reverse it.
I did mine. I did a sorting while I was adding.
Ah. Huh. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
So it makes things pretty easy because you find out where it belongs, then you just push it into the array or pop it in, and then you're good.
Nice. Well, I definitely went through and tossed some more comments into my solution this week than I did last time.
It's pretty useful. So what did you do for the research? I don't think there's much research to do for this.
I didn't do any research at all.
And neither did I. That was a short one. So our methods. I guess you can go first to discuss your method. I'll try to scroll.
I appreciate that. All right, we'll start at the declaration section. That's just the data array is the actual strings that we're going to be parsing.
Actually, I think if you're talking, it shows your screen unless you set it to show mine always.
Let me see if I can do that.
If I select that one, I think that should show mine always. See if it's showing mine even when you talk.
So if I talk, yeah, I think you're good.
Okay. All right.
I don't know for sure, but anyway. So the first element in the declaration section is I set up the date array, which is all just the ones that you included in the original challenge, plus a few more just to make sure that I wasn't getting any false positives, because I would hate to be parsing just this right and then not be able to parse another thing if it got tossed in there. So anyway, then I have the day hash, which is basically just words that people would use when they're describing a day of the month, as opposed to the year numbers. Those are really the big difference here. When somebody uses the word first instead of one, that's obvious that they're talking about a day instead of a year.
Yeah, I used something similar.
And then the month hash is really simple. These are all just hash values. They're I don't know if you assign hash tables the same way in other languages, because really I've only used hashes in Perl.
No, it's similar.
Okay. So on the left is the key. Equals, greater than signifies that the value is to the right of it. You can in Perl just do comma separated hash values, where the first one is the value or the key and the second one is the value, but that it gets really hard to read after a little bit. So I recommend doing it this way if you're going to do it. So there's that part. Did you want me to get into parsing, or did you want to go into how you started off yours?
Yeah, I guess we can alternate a little bit. That might be a little useful. We can try it that way this time.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the way I set it up. I have the parse list, which is just the array of the things that we're parsing. I have a month's tokens, and I separate them off: the full, the short, and then the value. I called as num inside the object. And then I have the numbers array. And so I have everything that someone would use to describe a number that would match a hash. And then I have the value of that. And then I have isIth. And that's how I specified between, like, if someone used first or second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh. So iseth. And then I had do mult, which would, if the do mult is true, then the next number is supposed to be multiplied, or it's supposed to be multiplied to the previous number instead of just added.
Right.
And so you do that for hundreds and thousands.
Okay.
And millions and whatever, all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
No, if it says 2,000, it's 2 times 1,000.
So we did something similar, but I'm wondering, like, how did you differentiate once you got to it? Because you've got all your numbers there in the same array, right?
Yep.
So 1 and first are in the same array. I'm just wondering how you got your logic to figure out that first, the true and false is if. I see.
Yep.
Okay.
But you'll notice it says the faults for some of these, like fourth could be an is if. I have that set if it is if inside of when I'm getting the number, when I'm returning this token, whichever token it happens to check out as.
Okay.
So we will go on to your next thing, which is the parsing section.
Yeah. So this is just a simple for each loop. You go through each element in the data array, and then you create I create a current date hash map. If you ever see $_ in Perl, that means the current element. So in this case, the data array is a bunch of scalars, which in Perl is just a way of saying it's either a number or a string. And then so $_ is the element, and when you chomp it, you cut off the new line. I print it out just to show you that it is show the old value of the string, and then we get into the good stuff. So this next line where I say my @word array equals $_ equals tilde and then the regex. This regular expression is going to return an array that's run, and the regular expression is run against the $_ and then it gets set to this word array. Then once we get all of the words separated out of that string, which is what that regular expression does, it just looks for a sequence of word. /w is essentially alphanumerics. It'll match any letter or number. So it's looking for any sequence, and it captures the whole word altogether because it's greedy. If you want to know more about regular expressions and what greedy means, you can look that up. Then I start a for loop going through the array. I don't use a for each loop because I need to know where in the array this is happening. You'll see in a bit I need to do some logic with the next word just in case. So it checks the first word, sets it to lowercase. Then it checks to see if that word exists in the day hash. If it doesn't, it moves on to the month hash. If it doesn't, it moves on to the year hash. If it doesn't exist in all of those, well, then it must be a number. So we go down to the our number parsing section. But before we get into that, let's go back up to the month hash. So I check to see if the day is undefined. That is this is for the current date, which is the hash I made at the start of this for each loop. And each time we go through this for each loop, we're going to be dealing with a new current date hash. So that is going to say, hey, if you've already defined day, then you just set it to the, or you don't, if you've already defined day, you append it to the end of the day hash string. But if it's undefined, then you just set it to the current word. Is that making sense, Matt? Am I being
Yep.
clear? Okay. Then we move into the month. Basically, if the word is a month word, it's a month word, and you don't have to worry about any of that other logic about adding to it or anything, because sometimes you have to append words like 21st. If you have those two words next to each other, you need to toss those together so that you can do the math later in this script. This next one is the year hash. That takes a bit more logic because 100 and 1,000 are going to be options in there. If the word is 100, you take the whatever values you already have in Word. You have to have them because you don't go 102, you go 200 or 1900. Anyway, so then and then you multiply it by either 100 or 1,000 depending on which one it is. Otherwise, you check to see if the same thing for if it's undefined, you set it. If it's defined, you append it. Let's see. Sorry, that was on lines 46 and 47. And then you check to see if the next word is an and. This is important. It took me a little bit. It took me probably a half hour of just solid thinking to figure out exactly how I was going to handle this, because sometimes the year and the date will be right next to each other, and you needed to know what it applied to. And using the word and seemed like the perfect way. So, because sometimes you'll have 2004 or 2020, and anyway. So we just add all that together. Or if it's a number, it gets a lot simpler.
Yeah.
If it's less than 13, assume it's a month. If it's less than 32, assume it's a day. If it's over 31, it's pretty safe to assume that it's a year. And then, I don't know. Do I need to explain that Perl is really heavy in regular expressions when you're writing code in it?
I don't think we need to describe language-specific things.
Okay.
Just the process.
Okay. So this next if statement on line 67 is basically saying if the day is not already a digit, that's what the exclamation tilde says. It's basically a not equals or a non-matching regular expression. Then we have to do this little bit of logic where we take the day array and run through each of them and find the numeric value and turn it into a number. So that's all that if statement is doing. And it does that for day, and then the next if statement's for months, and the next if statement's for years. And the logic is a bit different for each, but I think you can figure it out just by looking at it. I did comment it. You should. It should be pretty easy to follow. And then after that, you add all of the values you have for month, day, and year, and you push it to the dates array. That's what line 100 does. Then to make sure that all my sorting that's about to come is done properly, I shuffled them and printed them out just to show you. And then we'll go back to you, Matt.
All right, so for the parsing, sorted parse is the function I called it. So I take this is the one string date, and I will cut it up into words. So I'll split off of spaces. But first, I'll get rid of things like commas and periods. And then I will split off of spaces. And then I create my date object that I'm going to fill. And I have a number that I keep track of for whatever the current number is. And then for each, if the word's length is greater than 0, if it's a wordy date, then I'm going to loop through and get the values that way per word.
Hmm.
So first I check to see if it's a month. So if it is a month word, then I get the month token. And the month is probably the easiest one, but there's still a little bit of logic. If the current number is greater than 100, i.e. if it's a year, then I need to get past the current number into a year. So if it's like someone saying 2012, January 15th, once I hit the month, I want to take whatever I have currently in the number and put that into the year. Otherwise, if the value is greater than 0, then I want to put that into the day. And in both cases, I want to set that number back to 0. So it's fairly simple logic for that. And then the more complicated one is if it's a number word. And this is going to weed out anything like ofs and ands, because I don't really care about those. And when I get the number, though, there is a little bit more complicated logic. If there's a th at the end, and I set isith to true.
So regardless if it was false before.
Right. You'll notice that some of them aren't set to false, but if I find 4 will match fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care because it'll still give me the value. What we do care about is if it's an ith. So if it's an ith, I'll set it to true later.
Okay, and are you using an index function, or what are you using to test the string values against the table?
I just loop through them all.
Okay. Oh, I see. You just do an equality. If this is this, I see. Yep. Okay.
And then if the test passes, well, if there is an if, I cut it off so that it matches. So fourth will match 4. But then also later on, if the number is found, then and isith is not set to true, and isith is true, then I'll set it to true. Basically, if it's supposed to be an if, then I will set it to ith.
Okay.
And then I will return that token, and that token has everything else filled out to it. And then with that token, I will do things with it. So if it's an if, then I can assume it's the end of the day. And notice I called it hacky check to see if it's a day. So if it's isith, that's the end of the day, and I take whatever I have, I add it to the current number, and whatever I have is going to be the value of day. And I'll set the current number. Otherwise, if it's a multiple or a mult, then I will multiply it by the value. So 1900 becomes 1900 instead of just 19 plus 100.
Right.
And then, so that'd be like 119. And then, if it's anything else, I just add it. And then at the end of all those loopings, I might still have a value in cur number. And whichever value is in cur number is going to go to whichever one was not filled out. So if there was no year, then cur number is the year. If there wasn't a month, then cur number is a month. If there wasn't a day, cur number is the day.
Okay.
That's a little hacky too. Else, it's a less wordy date, and that's much easier. So I'll split it off of the separation for dates, which are the slashes or dashes. And then first I'll check to see if it's a month token, because sometimes those dates have the 3-letter months. That's the other thing I only care about with the months. I only check the first 3 characters, because that's the only ones you need to check. You don't need to check the whole month.
This is true.
So so then I'll do the same thing here. If it's a month, then I will get the month token, and boom, month is easy. Otherwise, I have to do some thinking. If it's greater than 12, it's definitely a month. Otherwise, I assume the same order, that a month and then day. I will assume it's always month and then day. Wait, or no, day and then month. I don't remember. It's right here. So if month is 0 and we're going to a new section, then I will set month. So I assume always if there's no month, then it's going to go the month first. So I always assume month first. And that's it for parsing.
Okay. Well, my sorting section is it looks really involved, but once you get past these 6 lines with the regular expressions, it's not very complicated at all. So this at dates equals sort. You're looking at a Perl sort method that uses a regular expression to pull a value out of the current array element and also out of the array element that it's getting compared against. So $A is the current element, $B is the element that is being compared against, and it will compare against all of the elements in the array. So there are unnecessary capture groups in there, and I just do that just in case I need to change it quickly in the future. I could just change this array element on the end. So I enclose all the $A part with the regular expression in parens, so that when it returns an array element, I access that by adding the square brackets on the end and saying, hey, array element 2, compare that with array element 2 of the other element. And then, so an until loop is the same thing as a while loop, except the logic is reversed. So until the condition returns true, do this loop. You can also do untils if you needed it to run first once, which I guess I could have done. Maybe it would have made it a little more readable. I don't know. Okay. So then you go into this for loop that goes through each of the dates. Make a current date hash, make a next date hash. This is so that I can compare, because I'm going to do the same thing again, but because sorting just on the year alone isn't good enough. You need to find all of the elements that share a year, and then if they share a month, and then if they share a day, they need to be sorted differently. But if they don't share any of that, then as long as that one line sort that we had on line 113 worked, we don't need to worry about the rest of it. Okay, so if the date is equal, compare the month. If the month is equal, compare the day. If the day is different, then make sure that the larger one is second, the smaller one is first. If the date is less than or equal to the current day, you just leave it alone, because you don't need to sort that. Otherwise, if the month is greater than the next month in the sorted list, then you need to swap them, and you don't even care if it's the days or whatever are different. And I just loop through that until it doesn't find anything anymore, and then once that's done, it's fully sorted, and then I print it out.
Makes sense. So what I did for sorting is I used a function called add sorted. So what I do is I take the current value that I want to add, and I just create an integer out of it. So
Okay.
I times the year times 10,000, and the month times 100, and just the days. So what I end up with is an integer that looks like a year, or a date thing. So like 2012 or January 1st, 2012 looks more like 2012012. So
okay.
a really big number. But doing it that way, I don't have to worry about years or months or days, because one value is going to be larger than the other.
Right.
So I do that for each of the elements in the array, and if I find one that it is less than, then, oh yeah, I wanted to reverse that. If I find one that it's greater than, then I just splice it in place of it. I did the sorting backwards, just like you did. if I flip that symbol, it should go the right way.
Right.
And then at the end, if I've never added one, then I'm just going to add it to the end.
Okay.
And that's how we did the sorting.
Cool. Okay, after I was done solving it my way, I did look up online to see if there was an easier way to do it. Now, Perl makes it really easy to run a command line argument. And once I have the date, I could use the date function that's included with all Linux distributions to parse the date into epoch time, and then I could have sorted that way. But I didn't want to use any outside stuff. And I could have done your way too, which is actually kind of elegant. But yeah, it just didn't occur to me.
I think that doing it this way reduces the amount of work the computer has to do. If you know it's going to be sorted, you might as well just add it sorted. A similar function could be used to do the sorting too. If you had enough memory to use 2 different arrays, you could create a whole new array and then just loop through the current array and then add it to that new array and then return that new array as the old array. And boom, sorted array.
Yeah, that's true.
But I kind of like this method. It's easy on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way I sort things in real life, or try to. As I add things to things, I sort them into place.
That makes all kinds of sense. All right.
But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that this really shows what we're trying to do here. That, even though we're solving the same problem, even though we're brothers who grew up together and think a lot alike, we still solve problems in slightly different ways, partially because of our experience and partially because we just have these little idiosyncrasies that just cause us to think in slightly different ways.
Also, there's more than one way to do something the right way.
That's right. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
There's a lot of wrong ways to do things too.
Sure.
And there's a lot of meh ways.
Right. But had I thought about that solution where you just multiply the years and months and days, there might be some kind of logic problem with that. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that hard. But it would have made my code a lot like that whole final sorting loop. That would have been, a quarter of the size or less.
Well, for sorting, it's fine. If you wanted to do date calculations or like days between calculations, it would not work for that.
Mm-hmm.
But for sorting, it works perfectly well. There is no case where it would not be true that if you're concerned about sorting, then that one of the values will be not in the right place.
Right. Anyway, yeah. I
probably should have zoomed in on my code.
Oh yeah. I think it was all right. I'm sure. If
now they can read this, right?
Yeah. Just scroll through it real fast. Everyone will get it.
Well, they can always read through the examples. It shouldn't be that big of a deal.
And that's your whole web page right there. Is that date parse HTML?
Yeah, I didn't need these other libraries, the Muto's libraries, but I had them anyway. I just normally just include them.
Okay.
I like JavaScript for fast prototyping because you can do JavaScript is very powerful and you can do a lot of different things. And if all you're doing is figure out how to do a certain concept, is really nice because you can get instant feedback. You don't have to compile nothing, and it's very easy to debug.
I feel the same way about Perl.
No.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It might even have faster feedback because I don't have to upload it to a web page or anything.
I don't have to upload it to a web page either. You can run JavaScript locally.
Huh. Do you use an IDE?
I use Sublime.
Ah, that's a quasi IDE, maybe. I don't know. I like it. It has all the stuff I like about an
It's
IDE and
not
none of the stuff I
integrated.
hate.
You can maybe a development environment, but it's not integrated.
Okay. I, I don't know.
But
I
yeah,
can.
you can run a browser will just run JavaScript. When
Right.
you run a
That's true.
server, the only thing you need to upload to a server is something like a preprocessor, like
Sure.
.NET or PHP or Ruby on Rails, or.
Sure.
But
I
even then,
apologize.
you'll notice my little symbol right here. I can run things locally on my WAMP server.
That's true.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
think that is it for Dev Pirates Radio. It's now for you to tell us what our next challenge is. Tell us what we've won.
You've won a writing challenge. So the last two challenges have been programming challenges, and we don't want to set the false assumption that this is only for programming. This what we're doing here is actually just for any kind of challenges. So what we're working on, or what we want to do for our next challenge, is we want to write an outline or a what exactly would you call it? It's not quite an outline, is it?
If it was what we were talking about before, I would just call it a design document.
Sure, a design document for a game.
They're not very specific on what exactly a design document for a game is, but they generally include certain things.
Right, and we just want you to write 1 to 2 pages where you describe the overall idea, some important mechanics of the game, the storyline if that's important. Gameplay is obviously the primary thing.
Well, no, you got like 3 major sections. They're just like one paragraph, a few sentences in the paragraph. You have the general overall concept of the game. You have the gameplay, and then you have the story. Story may or may not be important. You can probably skip it.
Yeah, depending on the game, obviously, right?
Right.
So yeah, if you want to go for extra credit, feel free to do as much or as little as you like.
Oh, the other thing is a task list. Were you going to do the task list? You create all of the tasks required to create the prototype of the game.
Oh, yeah. And those, again, can be as vague as you need for your brain to be able to complete the game.
Yeah, but not so vague as create prototype.
Right. So when I say as vague as you need,
every aspect that you've described in your gameplay.
Right. I mean, section. Just vague enough so that you don't.
Somewhat specific.
Yeah.
Enough so you can give it to someone else and they'll go, oh, this is what he wants me to do.
Exactly. So yeah.
Like one of the tasks would be have a character move around the screen. That's vague enough, but with enough detail that you know what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be able to control a character to move around the screen. Shouldn't be that big of a deal.
And just like we're not going to limit you on what languages you can write your code in, we're not going to limit you in how you implement this idea of presenting an outline with a task list. You can use whatever works best for your brain.
Yeah, I like to use Google Docs because it's easy to share.
And I actually like to use flowcharts. Because I am weird.
No, you're sick.
All right, I think that's the show. Hey, there's a task list.
Yeah, I worked on the graphics a little bit. I'm working on sharing right now. I've got view working.
That in kindergarten.
Well, I don't have view working. I have none working. And then I'm working on view. The person can view right now, but it doesn't limit their access. So this is my task list for my list site on my list site that I'm developing.
I like that it's kind of like a meta thing. Like as soon as all the items are crossed off of your list, you will have a list site that you can use to cross off lists.
Yep. Well, I find it made good use of test data. Plus, it's right there for me to see whenever I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Have a good night, sir.